Hello, happy Friday. I'm just setting up the room a little bit. If you would like to come up, would love to have you, no pressure. Just raise your hand and I'll bring you up. Hi, Eric. It's so good to see you. Eric says he blames me. That's hilarious. You can blame me, Eric, because that's how great of a client you are that I'll let you blame me. How are you?
Think it's funny because your notice about this who's to blame for your client's lack of results overlapped as I was typing a response to a teacher trying to explain why my son is not and this isn't one of those parents, it's not my problem kind of thing. It was like, my son has auditory processing. It's math. So he can't ask a question if he doesn't understand. I'm trying to teach you how to teach my son when that should
Oh
be
my
something you
gosh.
should be working
Yes.
on.
Yes. Absolutely. What a great
So,
example. That's a great example. San the other day said in here, he said something so powerful, and I was just listening to the replay clips, which is a fun thing we've been doing with the Avas. They've been going through and clipping up the content, and then I get to listen to it in small chunks. And so I was listening to Hassan, and he was talking about the importance of the teacher teaching, not because the teacher wants to teach, which is what many teachers do, but the student learning. Like that should be the purpose. The student learning should always be the purpose. And it's funny, Eric, because you're here and you're an amazing writer and publisher, author. And I was listening to a video the other day. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And they were saying, the guy was saying when he shifted from writing about what he wants to write about versus figuring out what his audience and his community needs him to write about. And in this sense, with us, what our communities and students need us to create courses on and learning material on versus what do I want to teach and what do I like to teach. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I had a conversation with a soon to be published author. um, and it's like, I know what I'm writing, I know what my book is about, blah, blah, blah. Came in and I was like, but I don't get it. And I kept like, again, my son must have inherited his auditory issue from me because I was like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand it. I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand it. And after about an hour and a half, she's finally, you know what? That isn't a good book. It should really be this. And I'm like, now I want to read it. I think we, as course creators, sometimes think this is what everybody needs to know because this is the thing that transformed my life. This is the thing that made me better. This is the thing that earned me $1 million. Well, just because you wear a size 8.5 doesn't mean everybody else on the planet is an 8.5. What do they need to know? And I'm sure you're going to teach, you better listen in or you're going to be broke in a week. She is more excited about her book now because she's like, I can see how that's going to work, and then I can see the workshop, and then I can see this, and she's already built out a journal and affirmation cards and a 3-day retreat in Italy because she can see how if she can get this right, people are going to race to the door to get it versus what she wanted to do. Nobody would have shown up because they would have been like me. I don't get it. Like, why are you telling me this story? What am I supposed to get from it? So, yeah, I totally agree. We work really hard at making sure books have a place in the marketplace, even if it's your personal memoir. Unless you're Michelle Obama, I'm probably not interested unless there's something in it for me because I've read enough personal memoirs to know what it feels like to be a Black woman growing up in this. It's like, it's been done before. Unless you bring something unique for me, it's been done. So I'll leave it there.
Oh, so good. This conversation is already starting off so great. I've been talking about how great the content has been over the last week. We're talking about the clip that I shared with you where you were saying it's not just about what the teacher wants to teach and the teacher teaching, it's about the student learning. And so when it comes to this room's title, who's to blame for your client's lack of results? I first just want to say that me personally, I don't love the word blame, and I really don't think anyone should be to blame for anyone else's anything ever. That's just my personal philosophy, because for me, blame is dangerous. If I start blaming someone else, then I'm actually giving them the power. I'm giving them my power, and I choose to live a life of really like radical level of personal responsibility. And that is how I feel the most empowered to move forward in life. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I know I have blame in the title. We're experimenting with these titles, but I just want you to know that I don't think we should be to blame for anything, because blame just comes with shame and guilt to me. So what I would say is we should take personal responsibility. That's really where I go with this, is what is our personal responsibility when it comes to having clients, having students, really anyone that's coming to you, especially if they're paying you money. That's really what I want to be talking about today also, because it's one thing to open up a free room and say, come join my community. And there's a certain amount of responsibility there and a certain amount of responsibility that's not there. I don't feel responsibility to my community to ever defy my own vision, right? Or even to anyone that's paying me. However, if it's a client, someone that's investing in me consistently, I am going to take a different level of attention and allow more influence, I would say. Or it could even be someone that's just adding a ton of influence and positive impact to the community, because that's someone who's bringing a ton of value. So there's all different ways that I really think about these relationships and what we're doing here. I know I just went on a tangent. So I'll go ahead and pause here because I would love to pass the you all and open up to you to your thoughts on this. So let's go ahead and get this conversation started. The question is, who's to blame for your client's lack of results?
Sure, I'll be happy to speak to the topic because, given my experience having 20 years in the classroom interfacing with real students, while many of my colleagues have climbed the ladder into administration or home office leadership, I'm proud to say that I've spent my entire career on the ground level interfacing with real students. And so, this idea of taking accountability for student results is something that I face each and every year. So it's an important conversation to be had. And I think Mr. Guru put it all in a nice, neat nutshell for us, which is teaching comes with great accountability. There are things that are within our locus of control as the instructor. We are the ones who design the curriculum. We are the ones that collect the data and offer the assessments that allow us to see what and how learning is taking place. The trick bag about our field in this education space is not just that it's not the fact that we create widgets. We don't create pencils. The outcome of a good pencil is easy to measure. Does it work? Does it sharpen? Does the lead always break? There are key measurables that are objective when it comes to creating a physical product. But here in the knowledge economy, we're talking about the human condition. We're bringing a whole person into our curriculum and trying to help them to navigate this curriculum so that they have a transformative experience. And so there is a lot of accountability when it comes to the instructor in terms of instructional design, in terms of our ability to pivot and adjust what we're teaching to the needs of the students, in terms of seeing how they are responding to what we offer and whether or not we just keep rowing that boat like the Titanic, even if it may be failing, or do we take a step back and take account for what's going on? And how do we capture that data? What kind of data should we capture to know how to make adjustments? And so on the one hand, I do think that a lot of accountability is on us as the designers of the course and our ability to market and attract people to our course. And Christelle has talked about this on several occasions, but who is your ideal client and being clear about that? Or are you just casting a wide net and any sucker that's willing to pay is my ideal client, right? So being accountable to all of those measures, I think, is important. At the same time, and maybe I spoke with you, Christelle, offline about this, I don't remember. After 20 years in the classroom, there's something that I have definitely learned about the students' accountability to the course as well. And I'll try to be quick and land on this point. There will always be, of those students that you attract and buy into your course, that small percentage, maybe two standard deviations above the normal student, who, even if you're a terrible teacher, they're going to do what is called upon them. They're going to overperform. They are committed. It's just part of their personality. They are born to win. Similarly and simultaneously, there are people two standard deviations below the norm who, no matter what, I promise you, no matter how good of a teacher you are and no matter what you do, they choose to lose and they just won't buy in. They won't follow up. They won't do their part. And they're on those two extremes. There's really not much control that you have. That's really on the student themselves. The real question and the real measure of value is for those students in the middle. How do we take them? Because they're open to the instruction, they want to get what we have to offer. How do we create an environment and experience for them that they transition from where they are to where they want to be? And if we don't do a good job, they will end up either falling off or not recognizing the value, or it just isn't set up for them to be successful. Or if we're very serious and accountable about getting results, they will have that experience and have that transformation and they will engage. And so while we may not be able to control the extremes and we may not be able to control the fact that these are whole people that bring their own trauma, their own experience, their own prior knowledge into the class, for that vast majority that's in the middle, it is really up to us to create an experience that really is meaningful and makes impact. So I hope that helps, but that's my first take on the topic. Thank you for letting me speak. Hassan Thompson, I'm done.
Interesting topic. Who's to blame for your client's lack of results? I think you're always to blame for your results, period. We go and we hire someone, or we may become a client of someone else because we need some help, but it's still our results and we're to blame for them. When we take ultimate accountability for our own results, then that's when we get results. When we always or try or sometimes or when it's convenient find someone else to blame for our results, then that's when we don't get results. What we have to remember is no one came to our bank account and put a gun to our head and made us hire that person, that coach, that consultant, that person. We chose to hire someone for whatever reason. It was our choice, right? Maybe we were pressured, maybe we were intimidated, but we still made the choice. We pulled out our credit card and we paid for it. And when we did, that was what we thought could help us get closer to our results. And if it didn't, while it might not be a great relationship with the vendor, we should have learned something. And we should also go back and realize that we were the ones that made that original choice. So our results are our fault. They're never anyone else's.
So good. And I said at the beginning of this room that I believe in sometimes people would call it a radical level of personal responsibility, because that's where I feel most empowered. So I love everything that you just said, and it's so true. And sometimes I even need to remind myself of this when I want to start blaming myself for my clients' results, which I'm getting much, much better at not doing. The personal
Well, that's
responsibility
tough.
is all around.
It's tough though, Christelle. It's tough when you want to help someone and you want them to get results and they aren't. But you do need to look at yourself and make sure that what you're selling is in integrity and what you're selling can deliver results. But it's tough, and I feel you. I feel the same thing in my communities, or I felt it in other communities that I've been part of. And you want people to win so much, you want them to do these things so big, and they don't. And it just sucks. And I don't know any other way around it than honestly, you have to detach from it. And you have to say, I go to bed with myself at night, and if an ill love doc doesn't get great results, that was on him. I was here and I provided a great service because that's on me. But the results are all on him because maybe there's a little nuance or maybe there's a mindset. It's so difficult. I feel your pain there, but it sucks and it makes you second guess what you're doing if people aren't getting results. And what I've found though is more times than not, it's because we're accepting clients that aren't ideal clients for us. We're accepting clients that aren't set up to get results. And we need to increase our qualifications at the beginning and only accept a certain level of client.
I'll jump in just to offer a balanced perspective on Gary's great points. I do think that ultimately he's right. The student has to take accountability not only for the choice they made to engage with a particular course or mastermind or whichever level that they chose to engage, they have to take ownership of that choice. But I do believe that there is a balanced approach. In other words, taking the student from where they are to where they want to be. And all students come as whole people, they come with their own context. And while we can't take ownership or responsibility for a person's background knowledge and prior capacities or experiences, what we can do is recognize the barriers to engagement. And I think as the person who is being paid, whether you are a K 12, my space is education. So whether you're a K 12 public school teacher who's being paid by the state through the tax dollars of the people, you're being paid. Whether you found a client and they buy into, worst case scenario, your silver tongue marketing capacity, you're getting paid. And so I think there is a responsibility on the person who's being paid to remove the barriers to engagement, because there is a real difference between what's obvious and what's familiar. A lot of us who are experts in the space are familiar in our particular lane. And there was a example, it may have been in a room that you hosted previously, Christelle, where someone spoke about a vision board. And this particular person had made vision boards and are very familiar. They know how to get their sources. They know what goes into it and how to make it effective. They're very familiar. And there's a risk there because we can easily assume that what we're familiar with is obvious to others. But what she noticed when she had this vision board activity was that she was not getting the type of engagement that she wanted. And the question that I asked is it obvious to that person? Maybe it's our responsibility as the paid person in this dynamic to reduce those barriers by taking some of those funds and providing them with the resources or providing them with the guidance or helping them along the way, so that we're removing those barriers so that we can get increased engagement and increased success. So I do think that ultimately you're right, but I also think that we have to take responsibility to make sure that we're meeting them where they are and guiding them along that journey. So that's my response. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, I was listening to Gary and Hassan, and they was tittling on my point a little bit, but I think in just learning, whether it's a sales tactic or whichever approach you're making, whether you're the teacher or you're the student, I think the biggest thing to make the results clean across the board is each side. Learning how to meet a person where they are in life and not where you want them to be. And in doing that, it allows a passive mode between both to observe more than to have expectations, or whether it's the person coming to buy from you or you have the expectations for them. It allows you to meet them where they are and to get a clear understanding, a concise understanding of how to communicate to get effective action from the person. In most cases with kids, it can be a little tedious. I think in Hassan's, that's why I commend a lot of the teachers, because those are individuals who are learning themselves. So I just wanted to add that in, just listening. That's something I'm learning in my process, to be more of a passive listener to understand what a person is, whether it's a sales tactic you're making or you're in your sales funnel or you're just trying to give consultations. Sometimes people are not mentally ready for that perspective. So I learned from that. And I just wanted to add that. Thank y'all for listening.
I do agree with what Gary said, is that we have to be responsible for our actions and inactions. And a lot of the time we get stopped because of mindset. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm not successful. I'm not loved. And procrastination, blah, blah, blah. And I'm guilty of this too. I've hired people and it's really not them. It's always me. So I totally agree with what Gary said. We have to take responsibility for where we are, where we want to get to. And if we take the right actions with the right people at the right time, the results are incredible. But I totally agree with Gary said. We are responsible for our own destiny. So thanks for sharing that, Gary. Totally agree with you.
I think there's a great point that Gary pointed out too, is if they're not ready and we take them, then the responsibility lies on us. And I see it happen so often in new entrepreneurs who are trying to build a community or build a class or sign people up on their whatever. They're like, okay, I need numbers. I need numbers because numbers show that I've got influence, blah, blah, blah. But when those people don't get results, not only does it like just suck the energy out of me as the coach, the trainer, the facilitator, whatever, but pretty soon people are talking about you and you don't get a second chance with some of those first people. So it's a no now is a much better yes later. And I've had people come to me and, can you work on my book with me? I'm like, yeah, yeah, like, how about if you do these 5 steps and then come back? Because the road that we'll have if you come back ready is so different than if I try and get you ready for the road. And so I think there is a division. If you create a great course and you set up a great gatekeeping system and only allow those who are truly ready to be in the course, then yeah, you're responsible for delivery. But if you just open it up hoping to fill the bank account and get the numbers in there, then you know what? Blame's on you for the failure rate. So I'll close out there.
I don't think it is though, Eric. Like my friend Jeff Walker just wrapped up a launch and he was selling product launch formula. And he's going to help you do your launch. And he had a really cool offer. He built something called Launchy, which is his custom AI that helps you plan your entire launch. And you know, your avatar and your sideways sales letters and all the stuff that Jeff teaches. He's been teaching this for years and years. And the whole promise of product launch formula is he's going to help you launch your product. And he's going to charge you, I don't know, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 right now. I don't know what this year's price was. It used to be $2,000, but maybe it's up to $2,500 or $3,000. And if people buy it because they have a dream, if I look in this room and if Storm says, I have a dream of launching a product about Airbnb, so I'm going to buy this offer. Jeff's selling a dream. And if Storm doesn't take action for whatever reason, then that's on Storm. That's not Jeff's fault. Jeff doesn't need to go to Storm and ask Storm 44 qualifying questions to determine if Storm's actually going to take action and then make a judgment on Storm and say, Storm, I don't think you're going to take action, so I can't sell you my product, my program, or my service. I think you just have to sell to Storm. If Storm wants to buy and you do that. Now, I think you have to deliver what you promised to deliver. That's where I was at. It's not on, it's my responsibility if I sell to someone that's not ready. It's my responsibility to explain what I'm actually selling you. And it's my responsibility to deliver on what I sell you. And if I do that, then my responsibilities are done. And if Storm doesn't take action on her new course and she bought product launch formula from Jeff in this most recent launch, that's on Storm. And Jeff did his job as long as he delivered the course that he sold her. So I think there's a bit of a nuance here that if we make the right promise to people, we tell them the truth of what our value proposition is. Don't over embellish. Don't tell them I guarantee everybody makes $100,000 because you can't, right? You can't guarantee everybody makes $100,000, but you can guarantee that everybody that takes the course and takes action can launch a product. If you're Jeff and product launch formula, that's something you can guarantee. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Eric?
I know Jeff, and Jeff's, even on Jeff's landing page, he'll do who this is for and who this isn't for. And that in itself is the beginning of the gatekeeping. And he'll describe through his launch, if you're trying to achieve this, if you want to achieve this, then this is for you. It's not necessarily if I sign up 1,000, I got to go check boxes on each of them. But I also got to make people aware. I always say you have to earn the right to lift 100 pounds in the gym. You can't walk into the gym the first day and expect to lift a 100-pound weight if you haven't been there in 5 years. And I think as course creators, coaches, whatever we are, we need to at least bring people into a sense of awareness. If you're stepping up for this and you're not ready, you're going to get hurt. But if you're ready, you're going to get fabulous results.
But we didn't tell people that with Jeff. Jeff was a client of mine, and I built his first funnel that he ever automated. And we didn't tell people they're going to get hurt. We never would do that. That would be horrible marketing. We told people they could do it, and we believed in them. We never told them that there was a big risk involved, and if they didn't take action, then they were going to lose their $2,000, and there's a chance that they're going to fail. We told them we believed in them, and we believed that the world needed to see their product. Like, we didn't disclose any of that, though, Eric.
I I'll just pull my shoulders up to my ear and say it's a business decision. In our house, we have an expression: "Don't blow sunshine up my butt." It's if it's not working, tell me it's not working. If I'm not eligible, if I'm not, and so in our office, we often say that: "Don't blow sunshine up somebody's butt just to get a check." Now, if they really do have something and you believe you have the skill to coach them past that break point, then let's lean in. But we're not in the check collecting business. We're in the impact, influence, and change business. And sometimes a no is a complete answer, as Christelle taught me. I think it was Christelle that taught me that. And it's, again, a business decision that I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just how we choose to move forward that we'll tell authors, you're not ready for us. And if that means you go find somebody that says you are, then go ahead. But for what we do and what we believe in, we don't blow sunshine up your butt just so we can get the check.
So would that be the nuance then, because you're actually delivering the service for them, where Jeff's selling a course and it's more hands off? He's giving everyone the same access to the information. Would that be a nuance in the way, because as a qualifier, maybe to sell a course, you open it up to everyone. As a qualifier to sell a done with you service, there's a different level of qualification there.
And I think that's the good division point of saying, look, anybody can join our gym, but you can't come in our Fit 100 club until you've taken the 30-minute intro class on how to work the machines or whatever it is. I think for what we do, because it isn't an all access pass and you're up to the, it's not a, when I say a DYI, Jeff's is very intensive and very well thought, but it's learn at your own pace, succeed at your own pace, versus you're going to be using up manpowers and edit, like you're getting a custom program. And in order to be allowed into that, you've got to have done some homework before you get to. I think we can agree to meet at that point that courses are different than maybe VIPs or memberships or inner circle type things.
I do think my position here is a yes and position. I do think that Gary is spot on in terms of the responsibility of the content creator or the course producer or the mastermind leader to deliver clarity on two fronts. One, clarity on the deliverables. What am I promising to offer to you? And also clarity on the outcomes. What can you expect to receive on the back end, assuming that you're fully engaged and fully involved? So I do think that issue of clarity is a critical point, especially at the point of sale, where a person has to make that decision. Are they really and genuinely fully informed about what they're getting into? At the same time, I will stand 10 toes down on this idea of what's obvious versus what is familiar. For example, if along the journey I find out that Jeff, and I don't know Jeff, so I'm just building on Gary's example, his hypothetical here. If Jeff, for example, was promoting Discord, but me as a student, I'm more familiar with Facebook groups, or I'm interested in learning about how to create my stuff on LinkedIn, but Jeff is not an expert in that space. He's an expert on Discord. Then there's an automatic disconnect. And the question is, if I have a need or if I have an interest in going down this sidetrack, who's who owns responsibility there? Was it your responsibility to tell me that this is going to be about Discord, or is it my responsibility to know that this isn't for me actually, and I need to find some kind of a way to opt out? If I'm selling a idea of making $1,000 a month, but the underlying assumption is that me as the client who's interested in this course of making $1,000 a month, if the underlying assumption is that I have a built-in audience of 10,000 people, and so therefore making $1,000 a month is a lot easier because you're giving me the tricks of the trade in order to reach my already built-in audience, versus I'm a student who comes into this course with no audience, but it's assumed that I have an audience, then that's who's responsible there. Is it your responsibility as the course creator to disclose to me, in order to be the ideal client, you need to have this level, right? You need to be at this prior knowledge or this level of experience or whatever. And so I think that issue that Gary brought up regarding clarity on the outset is very critical. I'll close with this idea. And I've said this several times, so forgive me if I'm being redundant, but there is a difference between the teacher teaching and the learner learning. If the teacher has a done for you course and the script has already been written and the videos have already been produced and it's already done, then it's a cookie mold. And the people need to find out if they fit into this mold. But if what we're offering is really about the learner learning, then it's not a script, it's adaptive. So I'm going to adapt the course as we go based on the feedback and the assessments that I take among this particular cohort. The videos are not already done, but they're going to be updated based on the needs of the people that are actually part of this group. It's about pivoting as we go. And so I think the question that we have to answer, and both are true, the question is, which way are you going? Has the mold already been cast and people need to fit into that mold? Or is what you're offering a lump of clay and you're ready and prepared to mold that clay to meet the needs of the people that have already paid you? So those are my thoughts. Thanks for letting me add to the conversation.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. I love this conversation. I love where it's going. So, this is a really great conversation. And where I keep going in my mind listening to this is that if everyone takes personal responsibility, like if every individual person takes responsibility, then there really is less nuance, it seems, because it's interesting listening to Hassan talk about, is it about the teacher teaching or the learner learning? And you know what? Sometimes it is about the teacher teaching, right? Like when I'm creating content for YouTube or Instagram, that is me creating the content that I want to create, designed based off of what my students need. But there are times where it's just the teacher teaching. And I feel that is perfectly fine, especially when it comes down to community. You're giving away content for free. I think where we've been talking about this week is thinking about charging for education, charging for services and courses. And what I'm saying here is not that we should take responsibility for the students' results. I'm saying it behooves us to take responsibility on some level for the students' results, but at the end of the day, every individual person's results are their responsibility. However, if we go into the process saying, as a course creator, as a business owner, as whatever service that you provide, you want your clients, you want your students to get results. So do everything in your power, as we've been talking about here, validating your course before you create it, like making sure you're actually solving a problem and that there's a real need out there, understanding who your ideal client is and who your target audience is. Okay, these are the things that you want to do to ensure that you're providing more clarity, you're setting the expectations. This is something that we've talked about a lot, being very clear what people can expect. One of the first courses I did, I wasn't clear about the fact that I was going to be teaching it on Clubhouse. I thought that was understood because that's where I had been teaching, but people were expecting Zoom calls because that's what they thought happened in live cohorts. And I was easily able to implement that, but I hadn't set that expectation up front. So that's super important.
You said something there that we have to be really committed to our clients' results, and I don't know that we do. And hear me out because I don't want to sound odd. I think we have to ensure that we deliver a product, a program, or service that we sold that would help them get results if they took the action on it. But I think we have to be committed to our results. And if we're committed to our results, then our results are not making sure that the slowest people who can't figure it out people get the best results out of our program. Our results are selling more people the program. Now, if we have horrible reviews and we're not delivering a great product and we have or horrible customer service, we're not going to sell this program for long, right? So that doesn't hit our results, right? We don't hit our goals. So our goals, we want to have a low refund rate. Our goals, we want to have a high client satisfaction rate. How high? I'm okay with a 10% pissed off people rate. I'm literally okay if 10% of the people who buy what I sell them are pissed off. It doesn't bother me at all. Because if I'm pleasing 99, 100% of the people, I'm not pushing enough. I'm actually okay if I push to 20% of the people pissed off. Right? I want you to either get results or not. I want you to either take the action or not. I want you to either get your gains or not. But I don't really care. I'm not that committed to you getting results. I'm not that committed to doing it. I used to be, and I got tired real fast. And I realized that I would spend, like, I have people right now, and I'll just tell this for truth. I have people right now that own big assets in our community and they're completely detached. I have people right now that are builders that chose to launch social tokens in our community and they're detached. And some of that's because their energies may not align, or some of that's because they took a different path, or some of that's because of whatever the reasons are. But that, I can't sit here and say, I got to get that person re-engaged. I got to get that person their results. I got to help that person win. I've got to say, who's the next person that's ready to get results and win today? Because I need another win. It doesn't have to be from someone in the past. So I look at this real different. I look at personal accountability. I look at my results are my responsibility. And if I'm not getting results for myself, then that's on me. I can't blame anyone else. So if I don't have enough money coming in, if I don't have food on the table, if I don't have those things, then that's on me. So if that means sometimes I've got to let those clients go that didn't take the action and didn't take the accountability themselves, or I've got to let them drown just a little bit or figure out how to swim on their own, then that's what I have to do because I still have to put food on my table. And that's been a mindset shift of mine over the last probably 12 months, that I was just providing so much free service and so much free access and so much let me help you win. And then I realized that some people are just not going to win right now. It's not their time. It's not their mindset. It's not how they want to win. So it doesn't matter what I want. They have to want it. And I just released it all, and it's helped me get a lot better results over the last several months.
I really love that. I just implemented something and I've pissed some people off, but I had homework that was assigned this week. All that to say, Gary, I really resonate with what you're saying. And that's definitely where I'm moving towards, even if my mind needs to catch up with it sometimes, because it's a challenge. If you want to be a great teacher and you want to be a great community leader, you want people to get results. Like how can you not? And yet the paradox here is somehow being able to relinquish that, because it has kept me up at night thinking about the people who did not do their courses or who did not ever go live after talking about going live for months and they never. That is what holds me back from my result and keeps me up at night. And you know what? I'm here to say I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done being held back by people that don't want to take action and actually move forward. Yes, Gary.
Yeah, I think it's a limiting mindset on our part, and I struggle with it as well. Because I want people to take action and take results. I want people to enroll in programs. I want people to do their homework. I want people to earn rewards. I want people to do those things. But I think it's a limiting mindset or a limiting belief for me, because I don't actually want, yes, for you, I want results, but I want your results because that's how we get results. I have my own goals financially. I have my own goals with all of this stuff. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, and I'm sure you're doing a bit of the same. And you're saying, if 25 of these people do all their work, then we'll have this many people that will upgrade. And it's a business. And we're looking at numbers. And I know we're looking at humans and people too. But it's still what we're looking at. And I think a lot of times when we're pushing people, it's because we need to go out and find more people. And that's us trying to push the people we have around us to move with us when we just need to go find more people. And when we go into an abundance mindset and we realize that there's a ton of people out in the world that are there and waiting on us and they just don't know we exist yet, and we put in the work to go get them, we don't care that those handful of people that didn't put in their homework, we don't care about it anymore. They just completely leave our mind because we've replaced that with someone new. So we're actually attached, I think, to our results. We're just repositioning it somewhere else.
So good. I love it. Feel free to hop in.
I haven't finished thinking it out. Might take me a week. But something sparked when Gary was talking about success and wanting it more for them. When I drag, air quote, somebody towards that success or that finish line, what I often end up seeing long term is they sabotage it because they weren't really ready for the success. And so they may get their course finished, they may get their book finished, but all of a sudden they like self destruct. I'm like, what the fudge cake is going on? We were like at the finish line and you threw it all away. They weren't ready for it. And so when they received it, they still weren't ready for it. So the only solution that they had, instead of stepping into it, was to revert back to where they were before we began the journey. And so I think in some ways, we're doing a bigger disservice by trying to make them ready before they're fully ready. Because they're going to end up like we always return to our zone of comfort. And if we haven't finished not being ready or whatever, like I said, I'm still thinking it out. We've got to finish that process before we can move into the other. And if somebody takes us someplace we're not comfortable with, we're going to figure a way of getting back, not a way of staying.
I love it. This is such a great conversation, and it's actually been super helpful for me because I don't always come here and talk about the emotional side of community building and leading and doing this work, but there's so much attached to this and at the attachment of results and whose responsibility and who's to blame and all of that. So I hope this has been helpful for you all. I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Storm. So glad to have you here.
Hey, Christelle, I love the topic. I forgot what it was I wanted to say earlier, but then had to step away to prevent a fire. And but as far as the topic goes, for me and my business personally, it really depends. I have different clients, right? Like I manage Airbnbs for a living. So my clients are above me and below me in a way. Like the guests, like if they book an Airbnb, their expectation is all out to the max perfection. So if they don't get that, for the most part, that's on me. Somewhere in my system probably failed. And if we it did execute everything perfectly and they still weren't happy, or I still don't get that 5-star review, I can look at it as I can either chalk it up to, oh, well, you just can't please anybody, or I can say, what was it that we missed and what is it that people are wanting that we haven't thought about? Even if it is that they're super difficult, like how do we get around that? How can we wow them past their expectations so that we don't get that splashback? So for me, the answer to that client, that's on me. And that sometimes may just be I need more time to learn those things. And I'm okay with that. But my other clients are people that own a property that I manage for them. And with that this question falls all over the place for me because at the end of the day, data wise, if they don't get the most out of that property like I've promised them I can do, then that's on me. Unless I've made suggestions along the way where they could, if we need a desk with great Wi Fi to really appeal to remote workers, and they say, no, we don't want to buy that or put it in there, then it's not completely on me. And my job is to just completely communicate with them the impact that's going to have. What's that going to have on their bottom line? How much is that desk, not having that desk, going to cost them? If I've done everything all the way across and they just adamant, they just don't want a desk in that house, they don't want people remote working, I don't know. But usually this one's a pets conversation. But as long as I've done everything I can, well, then that lowers my bar of what I can give them. I can let them know if this is the impact financially, you'll make $5,000 less this year. That lowers the expectation on me so I can still meet that bar. Because for me, being in alignment with my word is everything. You know, it's not, it's why I won't jump off into something. It's why I'm one of the people that sign up for courses and don't put the action in, and then I don't get the result, I definitely don't bring that back to the person that gave me the information that I haven't yet spent the time to use, learn, and implement. That's on me, I feel, as a client. So I think that answers all the way around where it falls on for us, but I don't even think blame needs to be in it, honestly. Really, it's just all education and a learning curve. If something doesn't connect, if something doesn't manifest, if something doesn't come through at that time, it's usually for a reason, and it might not be the right time, maybe just purely the reason, and that's not on anybody. Because that mindset, like I've been on both sides. Gary's example earlier actually pretty much depicted mine and Gary's experience because I do want to tokenize my community. I haven't pulled the trigger on it. So we're at that place exactly as he described. I'm okay with sharing that. And as the client that he doesn't want to spend the energy to pull over the finish line, so to speak, in that scenario, I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. The last thing I actually want is somebody coming and knocking on my door a million times trying to now just sell me. And that will be the fastest way to not convert that sale ever in my world. Because usually the reasons I've communicated, no, I'm not ready to move forward whenever it's anything. Christelle, I still haven't even moved forward with the stuff I have invested in yet. Is because what's most important to me may not be more money. What's most important to me right now is that I'm sitting on a boat on a lake talking to y'all on Friday of Labor Day weekend, which is our second busiest weekend of the year, and I feel at peace. That was my goal. You'll know that above the money potential in that moment, I was so maxed out and overwhelmed just with everything that all I needed was like a month to just disconnect. And y'all can go check my receipts. I've been on beaches, lakes, boats, rivers, camping, you name it, plugging back into self care because I want to be ready when I pull the trigger. I'm the client that when I do say let's go, y'all better be ready because that means I got myself ready. Because that one thing I don't like to do is fail. So I won't pull a trigger till I know I won't fail that because I have the time and space to really execute. And so that's my feet pushback or opinions or whatever you want to call it, 2 cents on this topic.
I love it. I'm so glad you're here. It sounds like people were having a hard time hearing you. So I hope some of you must have heard Storm because I heard Storm perfectly. People will absolutely blame you for the results that they did not get. This is one thing that I have had to deal with, especially in the online creation world and doing courses and offerings. People will blame you for their lack of success, their lack of results, their lack of anything. And so, what I want to say is this is why it's so important to take personal responsibility and do your best. That's what we talk about here. How can we do our best? How can we validate our course? How can we survey our beta testing group? How can we make sure that the product that we are delivering is transformation, results driven? We know our ideal student and we're only going after that per all of these things. If we know that we have done that, if I know that I have done that, then I can sleep at night with any blame someone wants to throw at me. In addition to that, just on a practical level, for anyone who's getting new and started to this world of making money online by selling digital products or services, whatever it is, this is what I'm going to tell you. Keep the receipts. Screenshot, email. Don't let people get you on a phone call that's not recorded. You send everything through email, everything through text, everything in a channel that can be recorded and screenshot. If you do a Zoom, make sure that you live stream it to YouTube and make it private or record the Zoom. Once a purchase is made, make sure that there's some sort of invoicing system. You're using something like Stripe, because if there is anything that I have learned is that humans will human and they will blame you for their lack of results. Not all, but many people. And so this is like my public service announcement as I'm here and I'm talking about how can we be educators and create amazing educational content and make money and make a lifestyle out of it. But I would be remiss if I did not encourage you to document, record everything. When you undercharge or you don't charge and you give away for free inappropriately, it does hurt you and it hurts the other person because they're not going to take the same level of accountability and personal responsibility as they would if you required them to pay you for your services. So that's another thing I want to put out there. You are going to attract the type of people that you put the dollar amount on. So if you're offering something that's free all the time or just $5, that's what you're going to attract. If you want higher level clients, your price range is going to have to go up.
So I think anytime someone pays you, I think they feel entitled to have, let's call it an opinion that is usually critical. But I think that's part of the business model, right? If you're getting paid, you have to be accountable. And I think you did a great job of outlining why it's important to have those notes. And I keep notes for the purposes of education. If I make a placement and someone's like, yeah, this placement didn't work out, and we go back, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we changed the job, and it was different, and it was that. And I'm like, that's got to account for some of the results. And then I guess I have a statement maybe that turns into a question. I'm very excited to see educators back on the platform. One of the things I've always thought was a flaw in education is that basically you pay for a degree, and most people are paying for a degree to get a job. And I think there's a little marketing snafu there, right? Because you get a degree, so whatever institution you got the degree from, they did their job because now you have a degree. That degree doesn't necessarily get you a job. So I think, I know this was mainly about courses, but I guess the question I have, and it doesn't need to get answered in this class, but just from an educator standpoint, it's really, do we need more people at the table when we're teaching, right? So from an educational standpoint, if an employers are more involved, does that kind of help with outcomes? Because I think at the end of the day, from a more educational perspective, I think providing that opportunity to say, look, if you really want a job, let's make sure we've got enough employers at the table that really value what we're teaching. So I don't know if that becomes more of a marketing thing. And even to tie it into courses, I think a lot of people did a great job of explaining that, look, you take the course, but you really have to put in a lot of work. And I think one thing that needs to be explained when people take courses is the information doesn't guarantee results. You're going to learn how to put something into action, but if you don't put it into action the right way, you won't get results. And if your audience happens to be different, you might take the course with someone else and you've got different audiences, the results are going to be different. So I think there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's marketing, I don't know. I don't know if I have a solution to that, but that's what I've noticed is that I think it's that same entitlement. You've paid, so now you think you're going to get a result. And at some point, I think it benefits everyone if there's some kind of level setting around, or maybe even a debrief around maybe why you didn't get those results. But I appreciate the space. I learned a lot.
So we've got the educators that are trained, they know how to design curriculum, instructional design, all of that, individualized instruction in the classroom. They know how to, in a way, lead a community because that classroom is a micro community. They're understanding the principles of community design because of that. And then there's the other side where we have the creator, who's not necessarily an educator. And they're learning the pieces about why high value content is so important, the marketing of that, how to do email marketing and funnels and make money as a creator. And so the idea of bringing those two worlds together, especially when we talk about course creation and course programs, is so important because the content creators can learn from the educators how to ensure that their course and their program is actually effective and results driven. That's why I created the one click course creator tool. With my educational background, it's going to give you a full, basically a curriculum with the lesson plans and everything that I feel you need to get a course started. And we understand about assessments and feedback and how important it is to have a group of people looking at data. I remember being a teacher, and at the end of an assessment, all of the teachers would get together and look at the assessments together. So it wasn't something that you did on your own. And so the content creators can really learn so much from the educators. At the same time, I have this vision and this dream of saving people from the public school system if they want to be saved. I love the idea of educators becoming full time content creators, which I call edu creators. But they, of course, and me as well, I left the public school system back in 2017 and I've been learning this whole time. But the thing that I've been learning is the marketing and the sales. And there's so many connections as I learned this. And I'd love to hear for anyone who'd like to add into this, if you agree or not. But there are so many connections with teaching and having a classroom and building relationships with the stakeholders, the parents, the social workers, all the people that are involved with student learning. There's so much there that has to do with marketing, and even so much with teaching that has to do with marketing, right? Like I have to market the content to the students. And me, I was a special education teacher. So that meant I had to really go above and beyond. I had to do the graphic organizers. I need you to learn this math that you are not interested in. So it's my responsibility as the teacher to make sure that I am engaging, that the content is appropriate. I've assessed your learning before that. Content creators and course creators that are not educators, I don't believe that they're doing this. And I believe that this is why only 3% of courses are actually finished, because they don't understand the assessment process and how to do pre-assessment and then how to design curriculum and courses based off of where your students are. So it's the distinction between creating courses for yourself because you want to create a course because you're interested in this topic and you want to teach other people about this, or you're creating courses in direct service to your community and classroom because you understand what they need. You spent enough time with them. You've gone live with them. You've created community spaces for them. You've given them surveys. You know what they need, and therefore you create the exact content that they need. And when you do that, you will always have business. You will always have clients because who would want to leave if you're constantly serving them where they need next? At the end of the day, I care about my growth, my development, and my results. So it's our responsibility to know, are we the right student for this teacher? Am I the right client for this coach? So the responsibility falls on us always. I don't believe that we can ever blame anyone for anything. That's my personal belief. But I just want to start wrapping this up by saying if we really take a radical level of responsibility for everything that we do in life, I believe that the people that are in our community or our clients will achieve results. The right people will, but I really believe it's about understanding who those right people are and how to really service them without getting distracted by all the people buzzing around you that aren't really trying to go to the next level with you. They really just want to have you adopt their vision of where to go. And so this is really important. It's important to ask people to take action so that you know that you have action takers. So that's why I have a whole special group just for action takers, because I need to see it. I need to see the action to know who to go forward with, because this is a huge mission and a huge vision.